Behind every medal, there's a story. Behind every hero, there's an ordinary life transformed by the extraordinary courage. Today, we explore the National Medal of Honor Museum, where the valor of America's bravest isn't just memorialized, it's brought to life. Let's step inside. Hey, welcome into Rob Ride's 10X Pop Culture. And today's show, we're going to talk about my trip to the Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington, Texas. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Medal of Honor itself. I'm going to take you through my personal tour of the museum with a bunch of pictures. I've got like 168 on some slides, so it's a really in-depth tour. And we're going to tell you about the museum, its mission, and show you what it looks like on the inside and the outside. So let's get to this. But first of all, let's talk about, the Medal of Honor itself. And I know I did a video on Medal of Honor recipients in World War II, the European theater. I will do another one on the Pacific theater for World War II. Let me know if you want me to do other wars. I will mention the fact that going into this one, we do have a little bit of World War I and World War II, but a lot of the museum itself is really geared towards the Vietnam all the way through the Gulf War up to modern days, because they wanted live members of the Medal of Honor for this museum to be able to get some of their, their stories out there, and for them to actually be able to see it and talk about it. So that's part of the reason why they did more modern people. But there's a lot to get to here. Let's unlock it. First of all, let's talk about the Medal of Honor itself. It's the highest military award given only to service members who go above and beyond, risking everything in combat. And since the Civil War, just over 3,500 individuals have earned it, fewer than 4,000 in the history of the U.S. Armed Forces. So very interesting. Let's just talk about the museum itself really quick, and I'll start to show you pictures of it and what it looks like. So it opened in Arlington, Texas, which is not that far from where I live right now, in 2025, this very year. The museum's mission is more than to show medals behind glass. It's to tell the full stories of sacrifice, courage, integrity, and hope through immersive exhibits, personal artifacts, interactive technology. You see, just not hear what they did. You're involved in it, and I'm going to show you pictures that show you how interactive it can be. It's incredible. It's a fantastic museum, but it's actually nestled in an unusual place. So for me, I kind of grew up in Arlington, so I knew Arlington fairly well. But this museum was recently built, and it's built where the Arlington Convention Center, where I graduated from high school, was, or still is actually today, and right across from the old ballpark in Arlington where the Rangers used to play. Of course, nestled in this, you'll see a big dome-like structure that almost looks like a spaceship called AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play. And right across from there, you'll see a barn-shaped structure that's huge, which is Globe Life Field, where the Texas Rangers play. We often joke in Texas that the mothership is landed next to the barn, which it kind of looks like that. But it's expanded so much in that area. There are lots of different restaurants. You've got Texas Live. You've got a lot of apartments down there. It's really grown up. But nestled in there is this beautiful museum that's dedicated to those who have received the Medal of Honor and telling some of their stories. And it's an interactive place where you can learn about some of the heroic things that these men and women did to earn this honor. And it's something very sacred and very important. And, the great thing about this museum is it was supported by, both sides of the political aisle. It's not really all that political. It's mainly about the people and their service to the country and what they did. So it's more of a history lesson, which is great, which is what I love. And I think it's a great museum to go to. I think you should go to this museum and check it out and see and learn about uh, all the stories that are told in here. And I'm gonna take you through some of it. I'm gonna show you some of the pictures and some of the things that you can see. I'll tell a few of the stories just brief summarize, but I don't want to get into all the stories because I actually want you to go to the museum and find out for yourself these stories. And of course, you can always look them up on the national database and learn more about each one of these wonderful recipients. So let's kind of get started and show you some of the exterior of the place. And these are some of the stock photos, and I'll show you some of my photos with it. So let's add this to the stage. So this was the original kind of design of it. And it looks pretty much like the design here. It's pretty cool. So that's what it looks like in the daytime. And then at night, it really does have lights that light up. That's really cool beside this pool. I think that's an amazing shot. These were the architectural drawings. It gives it more depth. When I was there, I didn't get a chance to like walk around and take pictures of the outside. The problem was is that there was a baseball game that was getting ready to start, and it was hard for me to. There was a lot of crowd, a lot of people walking around, so it'd been harder to take any really solid pictures of the main part of the exterior from like a long shot. But as we look at it, I mean, these are just gorgeous shots, and these were renders. Okay, here's what it looks like up close. This is in the daytime. This is the long staircase, the upper floor, and we'll see both the lower and the upper floor. And you see the old ballpark. I always call it the ballpark in Arlington. I know it's Choctaw Stadium now, but to me, it will always be the ballpark in Arlington because that's what I grew up with. Um, but yeah, so the Medal of Honor experience. So got to start out with an amazing American flag here. And the cool thing is that you have the names of all the recipients, and you got kind of four sections down below: one for the Army, one for the Navy, one for the Marines. Actually, five sections, and one for the Coast Guard to show their recipients. I thought it was really cool seeing all these names. If you recognize some of those names, let me know in the comments below. And then we get to the Ring of Valor. This is a plaque of some of the people that supported this. I thought this was cool. This is a gift shop, and we get into a Rough Rider Jeep. Both Teddy Roosevelt and Teddy Roosevelt Jr. were recipients of the Medal of Honor. If you've seen my video on my tour of Europe and in the Band of Brothers tour, we talk about Teddy Roosevelt and his Medal of Honor action in World War II on Utah Beach. I also have it on my Medal of Honor video, so check both those out to learn about Teddy Roosevelt Jr. And his Medal of Honor. But I thought that was a cool Jeep. And then we go up in the upper rooms. And I'll show you what happens in these. This is a kind of cool presentation. I'll kind of walk you through it. But before I do that, hey folks, I'm trying to get to monetization, and right now YouTube has shortchanged me on some of my hours, so I only got 1,500 hours. I need 1,500 hours more of watch time. So please, if you could, leave a like on the video, leave a comment. YouTube has changed some of their algorithm, and they're kind of pushing out stuff and not pushing out stuff. So please like, watch, subscribe. Please look at my playlist and watch more of my videos. I'd love to get to 3,000 because if I monetize, it gives an opportunity to be more interactive with my audience. And yeah, coming soon, I'll probably have a store where you can actually get merchandise, but more on that later. Let's get into this. So we went up the steps and we go into this presentation room, and it's this immersive room that has all these screens. If you can think about it, it's like a whole wall of screens, and all the walls are kind of the same. And it has an inner circle one uh, that has another set of screens. So it's like you're walking in kind of a donut shaped thing that has screens with all the names of Medal of Honor recipients, and then it starts to show and take you into this immersive reaction of their stories. And I can't really describe all the sights and sounds that you see because it's just so amazing. But here are some of the pictures. So this is Vietnam. A lot of these are from Vietnam on. This actually is the beaches in Normandy in World War II. Kind of cool because I walked on that beach. Back to Vietnam, World War II. And so this video was like a 10-minute video where it just goes through all the different wars and it interviews a few recipients. It goes by really fast. It kind of you're kind of it's almost like you have ADD with so many screens that you can watch and so many different stories taking shape. It's almost like you have to go through it and experience it 2 or 3 times just to get all of it. Um, but it was really neat video. And here are some of the recipients, some of which we'll talk about. Yes, of course, I have to get the shot of the machine gun. Why wouldn't I? And see, this is kind of the inner donut circle thing. I turned around and got that visual for you. More of that. So see, if you look right over to your left, you'll see the main screens on that one, and then the inner wall screens. I can't describe the sights and sounds. It's so amazing, and this video goes so fast. And you're sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, there's like 3 or 4 different places that I can watch." I thought that was a beautiful shot at Washington. Like I said, this is more about some of the Medal of Honor recipients that are were still alive when they created this and when they had the idea for it. The idea for it was actually a few years ago. We finally made it into reality this year. Okay, so now we go from there into the main group, main hallway, and we're looking at some of the artifacts here. This is an example of the original Medal of Honor for the Army. There was one from the Navy that I didn't get a good sense of it. The Air Force came out with theirs, and basically they standardized it after this. But I wanted to show you the Pyramid of Honor. Um, it's kind of cool. These were the original Medal of Honors awards right here at the top, and then next line is the next level down. These are all the different medals for the different branches of the U.S. military. It's a really cool pyramid, really cool picture right there. I wish I could zoom in on some of these. They feared death, but the biggest fear was failing themselves, their friends, and their nation. Yes. I came when I was called, and I did the best I could. Never do I forget that I was not alone. So here's the cool thing. They've got when you go in to the main room. So the theater's down here. The elevators are back over here. You come up and you go into the theater, and then when you come out of the theater, there's this big wall that goes through the Medal of Honor from its inception all the way to this year, which is really, really cool. So it started really back in the Civil War days. And the cool thing in some of these pictures here are under 1863, right here on your right is the original two Medal of Honor awards. And those are on loan from West Point. They won't be there very long. I'm glad I got a couple pictures of them. You can see in my previous picture, they're right there on your left. Of course, it takes you through the years. The youngest recipient, Navy officer winning it, a whole regiment winning it, a female nurse in the Civil War won it, and there's a story behind that I'm not going to get to because I think it's a good one that you should learn and read about. Yeah, the Navy became eligible for it in 1915. This is a close up of a medal and a Purple Heart and a couple of other medals. Yep, the oldest recipient, 1942, Douglas MacArthur. Talk about the Coast Guard having recipients. And like I mentioned, the medal was standardized in 1963. In 1967, the Air Force, which became a new branch not long prior to that, received their first recipient. And President Bush righting a wrong. You'll have to read about that story. That's a fascinating story. I don't want to give too much away because I want you to go to the museum because it's a really cool museum to go to. And then Clinton recognizing valor. They did a review of different wars prior, World War I, World War II, for African Americans and other minorities during his time and even during Obama's time to review their service and determine other recipients. So that's part of what this is. And of course, you got Teddy Roosevelt, and I talked about him and Teddy Roosevelt Jr. both winning it. There's an interesting interactive one for the Medal of Honor winner from 2018. You get to watch the drone video that shows his actions that led to his receipt of the Medal of Honor. It's really cool. We'll show some of that. And that's it for the year memorial on this wall. It's really, really cool. I thought it was just fascinating. I'm glad I got pictures of pretty much all of it. Okay, so one of the highlighted ones is Audie Murphy. He's probably the most famous Medal of Honor recipient. I won't describe his action here. It was during World War II in France. There was a movie made about it. He became kind of a movie star and really one of the celebrities that really promoted the Army afterwards. He was in cowboy movies and war movies. He even did his own movie about himself. Interesting guy, interesting character. We did talk about him in my video about Medal of Honor recipients in Europe, and there's a little bit more about him in that. He was from Texas, so we got some of his memorabilia here. Um, you got the Life magazine article. You have an interactive uh, viewing of some of his movie that shows his Medal of Honor action. He's one of the most decorated persons ever to serve in the military. We also have him. He's right next to Alvin York, which some of you may know, especially from the movies, Sergeant York. This is Alvin York, and talks about his Medal of Honor and then some of his artifacts: uh, a gun, a knife, a license, a Bible. Samuel Fuqua. One of the cool things about him is that he was on the Arizona. And just briefly about him, he basically helped save as many people as he could and led firefighters down in the Arizona before it sank. And folks, if you haven't been to Hawaii to see the Arizona, it's definitely something to see. Very solemn, a very interesting place. And if you get a chance, oh my gosh, folks, I had the opportunity of a lifetime in Hawaii when I went. I took a helicopter ride over Oahu, and when you go over Pearl Harbor, it's amazing because you can actually see more of the wreckage, and you could still see the oil slicks from way back in 1941 when it was bombed. Um, it's just amazing to see it from above. So I recommend, first of all, that you go there. Very solemn place. Um, very amazing, but also if you get a chance to do a helicopter tour, definitely do that. And there's a piece of the Arizona. One of the guys' jackets. Clint Romesha is another one. Um, he's on there, and he's he had small town roots, the battlefield valor. Uh, basically, you got some documents and artifacts and images. Basically, he just answered the call when needed, and he defended his post. There's a lot more about it. It's really cool what he did. Some of his dog tags. Roy Benavidez. So I think I got some more on Roy. Give me a sec here. Basically, Roy Benavidez was really cool. He it's more than a medal with him. So he was wounded multiple times while saving fellow comrades under fire, securing classified documents, and returning to aid those around him despite great personal costs. Just what an amazing story. I encourage you to stop and read about him. Some of his artifacts here. Yep. Not a story about war. It's a story about freedom and its costs. And there's his Medal of Honor that he donated. Kind of interesting to see some of the uniforms here. Yep. Tommy Morse is another one. I'll let you read about that one. Kind of cool. Yep. Britt Slabinski. Even a Boy Scout handbook right there. Now, Charles Whittlesley, I'll mention him because this is really interesting. He's in World War One. Basically, he and his men really defended against German forces and survived what was called the Lost Battalion. And here's some more artifacts on him. He was a volunteer leader. It has a whole bunch about him. This is a really cool story, but basically, the battalion was lost and they were thought all dead and gone. And basically, he kept his men going and essentially were able to find their way out of the forest and back to civilization and back behind the lines. And it's all due to his leadership and courage. Preserve and rescue. Yep. For 5 days, the Lost Battalion withstood enemy attacks and even friendly fire. The survivors emerged from the Argonne forest to find a crowd of newspaper reporters and newsreel cameras waiting for them. Woodsley had no interest in speaking about his own bravery. Instead, told reporters to write about his men, who he considered to be real heroes. Woodsley, McMurtry, and Holberman received the Medal of Honor for their inspired leadership. So, very cool. Definitely read about it. Definitely look into that because that's really cool. Yep. That quote says it all. And here's a copy of his uniform and boots. Dwight Johnson, another one that's a really, really interesting story. I think this sums up our armed forces personnel and their thoughts pretty well. The thought, if one of these people died and I didn't do my job, how would I live with that for the rest of my life? Shows the commitment and sacrifice of the men and women in our armed forces. Uh, couldn't leave here without a picture of John Basilone. Uh, if you're following us, we're going through the Pacific, and we just talked about his Medal of Honor receipt and his action in episodes 2 and 3 of the Pacific. Uh, it's interesting. They don't have a big setup for John, but they do have his picture here because he did return home to help sell war bonds. And just the walls with the stories. I mean, I could get lost in this museum for hours. I took a guided tour, and so I found myself uh, falling behind the tour because I was taking so many pictures and getting wrapped up in all these stories, which is what you could do at the Medal of Honor Museum, which is why I suggest you go and spend time there. Kyle Carpenter is another one. There you go. Buy war bonds. Webster Anderson, and then we'll talk about some of the helicopter pilots in the Vietnam War, and this is the actual helicopter. Now, I did get some shots of the front, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out very well because some people walked into my picture, which sometimes happens in museums if you're familiar with taking pictures. And of course, my tour group was leading. So, what I decided to do is get these pictures to show the back, and then you can see the front in the picture of the picture. There you go. So, dust off. Using Huey helicopters equipped as air ambulances, crews under the call of the sign Dust Off evacuated wounded directly from the battlefield. The pilots used flying techniques first developed by Major Charles J. Kelly. Dust Off crews knew it was critical to reach the wounded and often disregarded the danger of flying into a combat zone. Air ambulances, most of them dust off crews, moved an unrivaled 900,000 Allied personnel and civilians. Dust off in Vietnam meant only one thing: help is on the way. Yeah, Project Brady was on one of those, part of that. There we go, some of the back of the helicopter and some more of the Medal of Honor and some of the There's the men. Bruce Candle. And then we had an interesting area. These were letters home that some of these men had written. They've got copies of these letters, and I thought they were pretty moving. Um, so you'll have to see some of these. They're very, very moving. They talk about how they felt, what they thought, writing to family members, loved ones, sweethearts. It's just amazing. So, along with our gratitude goes all our hope that you will be instrumental in bringing about a situation where there'll be no more medals of honor. Yeah. So, one of the things about the Medal of Honor also is that often at times, and they talk about this in the video and they talk about this on the tour, is that oftentimes this is the worst day of their lives because they're doing something um, not only heroic but extremely dangerous. And it's one of the hardest things to do. And the hope was that, hey, we'll get out of here and be all right and be alive, and nobody will need to win this medal because most of the people that have won this, a great majority of them did not survive their heroic action. And one of the recipients, there's Clifford Sims. His story is very interesting. Maya, which you guys saw the highway on there. He was a secret recipient. There's a lot that goes into that. It's interesting. You'll have to go there because I don't want to spoil it. I mean, it's such a great story about him being captured behind enemy lines, not knowing if he was alive or dead, winning the Medal of Honor, and then coming back alive. And here you go. Here's more about it. He's in World War II. So there's so much to see and do. Those of us who lived have to represent those who didn't make it. Yes. And I would say that, watching footage of real life people who have made it, who made it home even from wars, always credit those who didn't come home. They always want to talk about those who didn't make it home, and rightly so. William Shaman. This talks about some of the servicemen that were denied the Medal of Honor and how we, did some things to correct that. Edward Carter's an interesting story. Some of the books in U.S. Newsweek. This guy is interesting. I can't remember his name. I wish I could zoom in on it, but he won an award. He won the award, but he lost his eye. He got shot all the way through his eye and still lived. You see the eye patch, but also um, he had the badge, and then uh, you kept fragment of like his glass eye there too. So as part of the award, interesting stuff. George Day. Daniel Inouye. He also served in Congress, and his Medal of Honor is right there. He's got a very interesting story about his Medal of Honor action, basically getting food for captured men. It was great. It's just really interesting. I'm gonna let you read about it though. Some more pictures of the men. Bruce McCandles. Eugene Funky. I love this sword. All kinds of interesting weapons and artifacts here. The one interesting thing, though, if you go to Europe and you see all the artifacts that they have over there with all the different weapons and stuff, you don't see all those weapons here uh, in the United States museums. Part of that's because just how museums are run here; they're a little bit more gun conscious. Um, some more artifacts. Talks about McCandles. And he won. He's one of the most decorated people. So in here, I didn't get a chance to really do any, you know, picture taking in here because it's interactive. So the cool thing about this is towards the end of your tour, when you get out and come all the way around, kind of this circular building, you come upon this area where you have an interactive Q&A with Medal of Honor recipients. So they pre-recorded most of the questions and most questions that you might ask and some of the stories. And so everybody can sit in the theater and it's a digital video where the recipient's sitting in a chair and you push the button and you speak the question and then you release the button and he'll answer the question. And so there's a guide there that says, hey, do you want to hear about the cow in Vietnam? Do you want to hear him tell the story about the Russian general? And you just push the button, tell me the story about the Russian general, or tell me about the cow in Vietnam, or tell me about the action that that you were a recipient for the Medal of Honor for, and they'll tell you about that action. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's the end of my slideshow here. So as I mentioned, just so many different people. It'd be a very long video if I talked about all the actions and everything that they did. I want you to see it for yourself, but it's an incredible place to go. Um, there's so many different things to do and see and think, so many wonderful stories to hear about. I strongly encourage you take some time and maybe take a trip up to Arlington if you're in the area and go see this museum. It's really cool, really easy to get to, right there in the heart of Arlington, right off the highway. Like I said, it's nestled in to where all the sports stadiums are, right by the convention center. But the great thing about this is if you love history, you'll love this museum. These stories matter for more than just history, though. They're mirrors into the values that we all share: courage, sacrifice, integrity, commitment. Museum doesn't just preserve the memory, it also inspires action. It says heroes are ordinary people who did extraordinary things, which is very true. And we might just have moments like that in our own lives. So, folks, let me know what you think about the Medal of Honor Museum. Have you ever met somebody that's received the Medal of Honor? What are your stories about Medal of Honor recipients or your time in service? If you've served and are watching this, thank you so much for your service. Please like, subscribe. Like I said, I'm trying to get monetized. I'm 1,500 hours short of that goal. YouTube has kind of killed me with their changes, so I'm 1,500 short. So if I could please get some watch hours, Definitely need them to get monetized. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip through valor and history and through a great museum. Uh, don't forget those heroes that served and all the people that were recipients of this wonderful award. Please book time if you're going through DFW. If you have time and you have a 5 or 6 hour layover, this is a perfect place to go, right in the middle of Arlington, not that far from the airport. Uh, check it out. Well, until next time, honor, remember, and let courage live in all of us. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.